The following program is brought to you by the friends and partners of Andrew Wommack Ministries. On this final edition of our special broadcast spanning Andrew's 50 years with the true gospel, we pull back the curtain and show you how God took an unlikely college dropout and made him a Bible teacher with a platform to the world. On yesterday's program, we explored the amazing transition Andrew experienced from the school of hard knocks to a period of unprecedented abundance and fruitfulness. Today, we celebrate Gospel Truth Television's outreach to 3.2 billion people worldwide, the growth of Charis Bible College, Colorado, with more than 70 extension schools, and the miracle of the Sanctuary campus with 493 pristine acres that promise the best is yet to come. Join us now as we conclude our celebration spanning 50 years of God's intervention in the life and ministry of Andrew Wommack.
I'm going to share with you something that happened in my life this last month, and I believe that it's going to prove to be one of the most important things God has spoken to me in the last 20 years.
When Andrew had the revelation of taking the limits off of God, I remember when he pulled the staff of whatever it was, 25, 30 people into a room and shared this revelation with everyone. And he said, I don't know what the outcome's going to be, but I know that there's a change in my heart that's happened. And we're going to see some things that are going to take place.
And it was, I don't remember how long, it seemed like overnight, there was just this expansion and kind of a growth. And
the next year, the next Charis Bible College class that came in was double ours, maybe even triple. And it just began to grow in a way that it hadn't grown up to that point.
We had to move all of the men out to porta potties in the parking lot, and we turned all of the indoor toilets into women's toilets, and I mean, we were maxed out.
That's when the Elkton building was purchased. Things just started to move and escalate very rapidly after that happened.
And I had no place to produce the program, and some people will remember this, that I would bring the table and the chair from Andrew's TV set and set it up in this empty warehouse with work going on in the background, building the walls and tearing them down, and loaders working to remove debris and others bringing in new material. And Andrew would sit there at his desk and do what he does every day.
I can remember when work was being done here, and I walked in and I was talking with Andrew, and he was showing me some of the building, and I said, man, this is going to hold you for a long time. And he said, yep, about 5 years. He was already well beyond this.
Andrew had gone in and put masking tape where all the offices were. And he wouldn't go across the masking tape, he'd go out the door. Even though that there were no walls, because in his mind, the walls were already there. And he would just walk out the door and this is your office lines, this is your doors, and this, oh really? It looks like masking tape to me.
And the Lord told me to do that debt-free, which at the rate we had been able to save money, I figured out I'd have been over 120 years old by the time I accumulated the $3.2 million that it took to renovate that building.
Andrew's marketing people came to him and said, you can't get there from here. Never forget that. We've counted the number of partners you have in this ministry, and we've counted their contributions, and you can't get there from here. Andrew's response was always the same. He'd walk away and he said, well, I believe I've heard God, and I'm going to stand on what I've heard from God.
And actually, when we signed the papers on the building and bought the building, the banker that was with us, I asked him about the construction loan, and he says, it's no problem. We wouldn't have loaned you the money to buy the building if the construction loan hadn't been a done deal. He said, you'll have this money within a week. He told me that every week for 9 months. I went home and I really was disturbed about that, thinking, God, something's not right. And as I prayed about it during the day, and then when I went home, I went walking on my trail, started praying in tongues, and asked God to just give me an interpretation and show me what the hindrance was. And I mean, within 10 minutes, the Lord reminded me of a prophecy that was given to me, and this prophecy said that God is going to pay for this new building supernaturally and not to worry about it because he had a bank that he was going to pay for everything. And it went on to say that that bank is your partners. So really, this decision to finish out this building debt-free was either going to be one of the best things I've ever done or one of the stupidest things, because it would have just hamstrung the ministry. We couldn't function without this space, and yet we couldn't get into that space without it being complete. We couldn't get an occupancy permit. So that had the potential of killing the ministry. But again, it was a word from God. The Lord came through in approximately 14 months from the time I made that decision. We were in that building. Let me just show you this. This right here, it looks like rock and stuff. This is actually foam that comes out of a can that you put around windows. Everything on television is fake. But anyway, we're going to walk over here. And I'm going to show you, this is our media school. This is our very first media class.
So that was big. We saw great things happen. But in 2009, we were just totally maxed out, and we were having to consider what we were going to do. And God challenged me again and said that you're thinking small. You got to start thinking big. And so I spent a bunch of nights that I didn't sleep dreaming about this. God, what would I do if money wasn't a hindrance? You know, I'm not going to limit you. What do I want to do? And boy, I just got to dreaming big. And when we found this facility in Woodland Park, it fit the bill.
We had heard that a ministry was buying it, but Andrew called me on my cell phone, and it was one of those special conversations. It was sort of like, in only a God way, this happened. I started sharing with Andrew really the history of this property.
Dad was a visionary. He owned a lot of property in Houston and Texas and also in Colorado. After what Dad called his conversion experience, he had always talked about his properties in a very business-like way. Now his focus had changed, and he said, these properties need to be put together and used for Christian uses, Christian endeavors, Christian education.
When he died, we had our marching orders, and yet we didn't know how or when or if that could ever happen. But it was emblazoned in our hearts and our minds of his wishes.
Some friends of ours had some missionary friends come visit them, and they said, could we come out and see the property? And we said, sure. And
they said, we would like to pray. God's really leading us to pray for God's kingdom through this place.
Well, it was their idea for the four of us to face in 4 different directions, north, south, east, and west, and we prayed.
And just in a very prophetic way, they said, we know God is going to be used from this place to go to in all 4 directions to impact the world.
It was a very powerful moment for Mark and I. Again, it was almost like angels because we didn't know these people.
While it was a wonderful memory and it was very symbolic, I will be honest with you and say that I had no idea that it could have really been what we see now.
In 1999, Mark and I decided to sell the property. The Sturmans bought the property from us.
And so when the Sturmans sold that and Andrew Wommack bought this and the ministry started this incredible project, Deb and I were just looked at each other and go, how can this be on one hand? But then we go, of course, this is the way God is, in His timing and His way.
So here is what I need your help on. I'm going to do this with all of the ability that I have, but I've made a decision not to go in debt to do this.
He saw things, and he would sit on his back porch and he would look out and imagine, and he would be seeing things or seeing these buildings that are on campus. And very similar to what Oral Roberts said, was that he always saw those buildings he built inside before he ever built them.
We thank you, Lord God, that the church is arising in this hour.
Being in the atmosphere of faith that we're in at Campus Days is just life-changing.
The church is not going to be silent, but we're going to lift our voice and we're going to declare that God is good.
Get so much of what Charis is all about.
We need people to go beyond the 4 walls of the church, and we need them to go into every segment of society.
You can just feel
God, and everything was explained so clearly.
I just felt this draw, like I have to go here. I just need to get more of this teaching. I know this is the truth.
I'm just more excited to go get in my Bible than anything, having been here in this atmosphere and receiving.
It was a confirmation in saying, yep, this is where I want to be, and these are the people that I want to be around.
This is family.
I haven't met a stranger since I've been here.
It's so exciting to be here and to see it all firsthand.
Look who's in our audience right now.
You're liking that, aren't you?
Hi, Andrew Wommack.
Hi, how are you, man?
Do you have one final thought for our audience? You can talk into my mic. Do you have one final thought about your segment that was earlier in the broadcast?
Don't limit God.
Don't limit God?
No, sir.
Okay.
I believe that.
You limited God.
I did.
Okay.
But now I'm taking the limits off, and it's awesome. It's much more fun this way.
Okay. I've never had a TBN programmer sitting in the audience before. You're the first one.
Well, I don't think I've ever had a TBN owner sit next to me either.
Well, come on now. Okay.
And what's so amazing is back in 1980, I remember standing there listening to him say this and thinking, this would be a miracle, and sitting here today in 2017, and I'll tell you, this has been a miracle.
I had a dream, and the Lord spoke to me, and He said, this is the reason I've raised you up, is to change people's opinion of me. And then as their opinion of me changes, they will go out and change the world.
I said, Lord, now that I know what you have done for us, send us wherever you want to. We want to do things for you.
I felt, boom, inside me, go.
We had this idea. We were going to go preaching in the remote villages where the name of Christ has never been heard.
We didn't know how it was going to work out. We just knew we were going.
At the time, it seemed like big steps.
It was just a lot of faith that God would take care of it and provide for it.
If you just know what God told you to do, then it's not a challenge. It's an adventure, but it's not hard, and it doesn't have to be scary.
We knew that we were called, and so that was the main drive.
When we first started there in 1999, no one knew the name of Andrew or the ministry, and now Andrew's the most popular, well-known minister in all of Russia.
Andrew's ministry goes beyond a meeting where people are blessed and taught something. It goes to the heart of discipleship, which impacts and changes people's lives, and we, through Charis Bible College, give people that avenue. Give them a way to truly become disciples, not just listen to Andrew's teaching on television.
Our responsibility is to take the same experience that people are having here in Colorado and bring it out to stateside and international locations with Charis, as well as everything that's happening down at AWM with the ministry and all that great material that's being offered to people, to get it translated into foreign languages and to get it distributed all over to the nations. Right now, we are in 19 different nations. We have 16 AWM offices, and internationally, we have 23 Charis locations, and stateside, we have 47 Charis locations.
Nice to meet you.
Many people would have categorized Andrew as, well, he's just another Word of Faith preacher. But the truth is, the revelation that God has given him on grace has truly distinguished him, and that's why you see ministers from different quadrants even that will come, different, I call them camps, different camps that will come, and they're attracted to Andrew, and it's really, I believe, it's a lot of it is his teaching on grace that comes from the deep revelation that he has about it. And because of that, it literally acts as a magnet. I mean, really, that teaching, his revelation, his teaching on grace, acts as a magnet and brings a lot of people on television watching, but also many ministers are attracted because they've never heard it taught from that perspective.
So all of a sudden, this CD goes in there, and Gomer Pyle comes on, and starts. I'm really sorry about this.
No, that's fine. It's true. Yeah, what can I say?
And starts teaching, and Connie and I, who have been in the Word since forever, all of a sudden our heads are spinning around because we've never heard teaching like this before, and we're realizing that, oh my gosh, we can work with Jesus, with God, and we can take the full authority of God and work on a healing here.
Whenever I hear people talk about their experience with the ministry or with Andrew Wommack, what they always tell me is that their life has been changed, that there's a new ease in their relationship with the Lord, that they are enjoying their walk and their Christianity.
and the life is found. So thank you. Amen.
Good. God bless you.
I've heard of spirit, soul, and body, and I've taught series on spirit, soul, and body. But Andrew was radical with spirit, soul, and body. And it was the first time that I said, you know what? I can receive this. Because, of course, he applies his life with tremendous revelation and teaching, and it became alive on the inside of me. And all of a sudden, to me, Andrew Wommack was the greatest teacher on the planet.
Although he's been somewhat of a pioneer, modern day pioneer in the field of grace, he has stayed with it, and I believe he's very much in balance with the whole message and spectrum of not only grace, but the truths that surround that.
Not to the left, he's not to the right. He's just down center of what God said to do. And I really like that. Because a lot of time when you see a ministry this big, a lot of time they begin to think of different things, and before you know it, they start changing things they shouldn't change. And just go forward the way God says to do it. Just like going on right here, people just whistling all over the place. See, it's a happy place.
Oh, hey, how you doing, Andrew? I didn't know you were in here. Did I mess you up? Hey, Jesse, we talking good about you.
I'm sorry, I was out there making an update, construction update. Didn't know you were in here.
Yeah, I'm talking good stuff about
All right,
you. You want to listen to it?
Well, no, I'll go.
Okay.
Thanks.
I'll see you in a little bit.
I can't even do that. Sorry.
See that? You ought to use that. Yeah. I'd use that.
Yeah, that was really
That's perfect.
good.
Yeah, people just whistling. Oh, it's Andrew.
And to have a successful ministry as he does this size, he's not fixated on it being about him or the ministry name. If he sees something else move in the same direction, he's happy to jump over and help them with where they want to go. And there's not many folks that at that level are willing to do that. I've seen him in meetings where he has an idea, but if someone else has it, that's great. I'm going to help you with your idea. It doesn't have to be mine.
You know, we go to meetings and Andrew comes an hour before the meeting, and rather than staying away from the crowds, he's right there. They line up for prayer or to talk with him. He never rejects anybody. He is the most real person that we've ever known. I've never known anybody that would come before and stay after.
His heart is to be able to just mingle, pray, be with, minister to, you know, just be able to be there, and for him to be able to spend a few moments or pray with them. To me, that means everything, because that shows me truly who that Andrew is.
I remember one time we had a guy, and he dropped his contact lenses, or dropped one of his contact lenses at the back of the auditorium, and there's Andrew on his hands and knees, looking all around the back of the auditorium, trying to find this guy's contact lens.
By mixing with the people, you find out whether they're getting what you're saying and whether they understand it, or if they're making a wrong application. And I really think that by me having so much contact with the people I minister to, I think it really helps me to not change the heart of what I'm saying, but to change the wrapping so that they can receive it better.
This particular person says sin hasn't been mentioned very much. Can you receive healing and still have sin at the same time?
We hope so, or nobody's going to get healed.
He's so generous with the platform of his ministry. It's not about him. It's about recognizing other gifts in the body and lifting them up and giving them opportunities, and
even allowing different perspectives. He has different teachers that may have different perspectives on things, but he trusts the heart. And I appreciate that, because you feel like you're not walking on eggshells. You feel like you can share your heart. And Andrew is perfectly fine with that.
Somehow he told the video department, when I would come as a guest, to film the services and send one of my sessions out as video of the month. And they did this for years. I got calls and feedback from people all over the world. And I saw Andrew one time and I said, why are you sending my video out for Video of the Month. It's your Video of the Month club. Why would you send me out? And you know, he just kind of said, well, they get to hear me all the time.
One of the neat things about Andrew's ministry is there's a lot of stuff goes on behind the scenes that nobody knows about. And he's just got his hand in so many different areas.
The first 2 years I was here going to Charis, I worked in production, and in production we produce all of Andrew's materials and ship out all the orders. And so I got to see firsthand, I would personally pull and pack prison orders. And we would send out between 25 and probably 50 prison orders a day, going to prisoners who Andrew gives all that product away for free. And that just marked me.
So this is my treasure from other partners, from when I first got introduced to Andrew Wommack. I saved all these tapes. I know a lot of people get CDs and stuff, but this is, is priceless for me. The new stuff since I've been out, my DVDs, all my Video of the Month now, because I'm a partner now, thank God.
Also, they can enroll in an inmate, what we call our Inmate Bible Studies by Mail, or our IBSM ministry, in which we send them lessons from study guides, and they fill out the study guides and then send it back to us. And we actually grade the sheet by hand and send it back to them.
And we'll send them out 2 lessons at a time. And then at the end of each lesson, there's some questions. And so they'll fill out those questions and send them back to us. We'll grade them and then send them the next 2 lessons in that study.
So do you have any idea how many inmates you've reached through this?
Since we began this current format about 5 years ago, over 4,700.
Honestly, I didn't start this. It was just a pen pal thing, like you said, and it was my employees that began to start ministering to them on a new level. So, man, I'm really excited. This is disciples making disciples.
Andrew is really, with us being the largest department in the ministry, has truly put his money where his message is.
We take a little over 30,000 calls a month. A good portion of those are for prayer.
Really every day we have encounters where people are healed of cancer, sickness, disease. We have those testimonies come in of Andrew's contacts experiencing God's love in very, very tangible ways.
We have about 2,000 orders that go out a day. Out of that, probably somewhere between 40 and 60% are free CDs.
It really gives you such a pulse on the body of Christ. We get to see the impact that poor teaching and religion has had on the body, and people are hurting, and they don't have good churches, and they don't have a strong community of believers to fellowship with, but they have Andrew's teachings, and they have us to call into and on the phone lines. Andrew's understanding of the love and the nature and the character of God is transforming their lives.
And I don't know that this is ever going to take place, but when we get our CBC auditorium built and everything, there is going to be a need for our AWM facility to have our offices. And so adjacent to our property, just north of our property, and you can see it right across there, is the Sturman's office building, and it's 60,000 square feet on 400 acres, and it's adjacent to this property. That may or may not come to pass, but it's nice to dream. I tell you, God has done another major thing in this ministry. We acquired the property that is adjacent to the sanctuary in Woodland Park. This is an additional 336 acres. And it's also got a 60,000 square foot building on it, which will allow us to bring our employees that are still down in Colorado Springs, which is over 200 employees, we'll be able to bring them up there and house them up there and reunite the entire ministry.
Those with eyes to see know that the path of obedience Andrew has been following for 50 years is bigger than the man, his ministry, and yes, bigger than his friends and partners. God Himself is at work in His harvest field in these last days, and we are greatly blessed to be a part of it. So, in 2018, as we celebrate 50 years since Andrew's March 23rd revelation of God's unconditional love and grace, we do not despise small beginnings. In light of God's work in Andrew's life, each of us should examine the milestones in our own lives. It's good to remember the corrections, the turning points, the divine appointments and interventions that we so easily take for granted and even forget. We see that the tiny seed planted in the heart of an ordinary teenager named Andrew Wommack is being multiplied by the Lord of the harvest in ways beyond our wildest imaginings, and the best is yet to come.
Andrew Wommack, 50 years of ministry. Praise God, brother.
Did you ever dream 50 years ago that today you would be shaking the world? You are a world shaker. So I congratulate you on this very special time and thank you for listening to God and being a blessing to the whole world.
Your ministry has been a blessing to my life, to Taffy's life, to our church, my partners and friends around the world. The revelation has been amazing. The understanding has been with precision.
Lindsay and I have watched you on television forever. We love you and appreciate you, and we want to say congratulations on 50 years in the ministry. God richly bless you, and I expect Him to do it.
Thank you for being real. Thank you for keeping it real. And thank you for being flexible and letting the Lord use you for 50 years.
I love you, and I pray His greatest blessings on you as you celebrate 50 years of gospel impact.
We hope you've been blessed and inspired watching today's portion of Andrew Wommack, 50 Years with the True Gospel. If you'd like to own the entire documentary, be sure to order the special DVD set today for a gift of any amount. The second DVD in this set contains a collection of intriguing bonus scenes we were not able to include in the main story. These bonus features reveal little-known aspects of Andrew's life and ministry, not available anywhere else. You don't want to miss these. This commemorative DVD set is sure to become a collector's item and a lasting treasure to all those who've loved and supported Andrew Wommack over the years. And there's more to our 50-year celebration. Throughout this week on our website, we'll be giving away several ministry resources, including a grand prize of an entire library of Andrew's books and products. Go to awmi.net/anniversary for a full explanation. Our helpline number is 719-635-1111. If the lines are busy, remember you can order ministry materials or become a Grace Partner 24 hours a day, 7 days a week at awmi.net. To write us, use the address on your screen. We appreciate your generosity and hope to hear from you today.
You know, as you've seen today, the best is yet to come. God has been faithful over 50 years, but man, my future is so bright, I've got to squint to look at it. And I need people to help me. We need people to help us to get this vision that God has given me for raising up this Bible college and training the next generation. So if you haven't yet become a partner with us, I encourage you to pray about it. Become a monthly partner helping us get out the gospel truth.